You're listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation providing strategic and tactical advice about inbound sales and marketing. And now, here are your hosts, Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli.
Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to the Yin and Yang Show. Thanks for joining us again this week. I'm Lindsay, joined as always by my buddy Sig. How you doing, Sig?
Hey, Kelly. Or Lindsay.
I'm Lindsay. My last name is Kelly. It's all good. It happens to me. You have no idea how many times. It's good, though.
That has never happened. That has never happened. That was totally unintentional.
Happens to me every day. So now
went off to the side for a second, I guess. I'm back. It's back. My brain is back in its cranium.
No, I have friends who I've been friends with for 20 years, and they'll bust out with, "Hey, Kelly, I'm sorry." And I'm like, I haven't even been married for 20 years to be holding that last name. So
I'm doing so well. I appreciate you asking. It's finally starting to feel like springtime a little bit here in Boston. You can tell by my my colorful, springtime attire. Very different from the normal heavy sweater and such.
And wait, I see sunglasses are even hanging around your neck.
I know. I was like, I'm ready to go to the beach, basically. It hits 50 degrees here in Boston. I'm ready to hit the beach. Right?
I don't blame you, man. I don't miss that. I was traveling last week, and where was I? I was in. I don't even know where I was. I spoke at another event. I can't keep track in the spring. But wherever I was, I remember walking outside and going, "Oh my God, it's cold." Oh, I was in DC. Oh my God, it was so cold. I'm like, the wind was whipping. It was pouring down rain. There was a tornado warning. It was hilarious. I was like, oh my God. Like in the middle of somebody's presentation, we're all sitting there and this alert goes off and it's like, take cover. And we're all like, do we take cover? Should we tell the guy talking?
Did you get a tornado touchdown?
I don't think so. No. And by the time my session came up, it was done. So it was good. Nobody was under the table.
It's good. So. I've only had that experience once. So I went to school. I think I went to school in Nashville. And my freshman year, the sirens went off, and everybody on campus had to go into not bunkers, but like basically the equivalent of a fallout shelter. And the place that I was in, and I can't believe that they actually put us there, was the very back. It was like the giant pantry. On a college, on a university's campus, behind the kitchen. And I'm thinking, like, place I want to be in a tornado is definitely not the kitchen or a place where anything sharp or heavy or blunt is going to be flying around.
Right. That's a good idea. It's like in Twister when they go into the barn, to take shelter, and it's like
swinging back and forth,
and all those big things. Yeah, and there's like, who are these people? So
crazy. So yeah, don't go near sharp things during tornadoes, in case that wasn't already obvious.
Good advice. I love it. I love it. So on the on Good Friday today, we're going to talk about sales and attracting sales talent. And Sig was so good. Yesterday, I sent him a message from the She Shed, and I said, Sig, I want to talk about this. I said, and I know it sounds a little touchy-feely and lovey-dovey, but I've had 2 glasses of wine. So the idea came to me, and I was like, oh, yay, let's do this. Mm-hmm. So that being said, I came up with a list of things that, based upon what I've seen working internally inside of copier dealerships and with all kinds of other sales teams as well, like what is it that the salespeople are looking for? Like what's going to attract them? Mm-hmm. And it's not always about the money, especially with today's millennials, what they're looking for in organizations. They want to feel, happy every day, and they want to feel like they're doing something that's very worthy of them being put on this earth. Mm-hmm. And to be quite honest, and it's interesting because I did all this research, and everything that kept coming up was this crazy statistic from I told you I had stats.
Never doubted you.
Yes, I see. He's the stat guy. So, but there's this trend because so many people now are turning to content online, trying to find. Think about how you buy. Mm-hmm. Pretty much anything today. You want to research it. You want to look up what it is. I'm looking at sprinkler systems right now, and I know the differences between the 2-inch sprinkler head and the 1-inch sprinkler head, and why misters are good, and why well versus this. And it's like I knew all kinds of stuff coming into this, and I didn't need the guy to explain it to me as in depth as he probably would have 10 years ago. He was still very knowledgeable. Both of them were very knowledgeable, but. Basically, because people are turning to the internet and social media to find information, sales reps have less work to do in the beginning of the sales process. And so there's a study from Forrester that says because of this trend, at least 1 million sales jobs are going to disappear by 2020. And that's scary. That's scary.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to talk about today was there will be a plethora of salespeople out there, but you want the best ones, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so how are you going to attract those specific ones and not take the ones who are just out of a job because they're not as good as they should be? Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's like that's something, another stat, and I can't reference it, but was something along the lines of the top 25% of the sales reps out there are, 100% solid in their jobs. They basically can pick and choose where they want to go because they're so good.
Yep.
And again, I'm sure that it's like a Gartner or something, but as a dealership, like, what are you going to do to attract that top talent? You know what I mean? It's something that I wanted to touch on and talk about today. So you're a sales rep.
Yep.
What attracted you to HubSpot?
So I don't know if you can replicate exactly what drew me to HubSpot, because I was a customer.
Right.
HubSpot, and I had literally lived through the pain that the company solves for. So there was an emotional attachment there of some sort, right? I mean, like, I worked at a startup. I tried all traditional marketing. This was like 2009, 2010 timeframe. I mean, I did every outbound tactic in the book, like, any ad agency from, 70s, 80s, 90s, probably early 2000s, even today, maybe would say, wow, like, you're crushing that outbound marketing playbook. You're doing a great job. The problem was it just wasn't turning into any revenue or any leads, even, or anything, like nothing. So anyway, ultimately became a customer of HubSpot. I'll save the story for some other time. So that's what kind of drew me in or attracted me to working at the business in the first place. And then the other bit, which is interesting, is I actually wasn't a sales professional or an account executive before I came to work at HubSpot. And the reason I came to work at HubSpot is that I wanted to get sales experience in the first place. And here I am, actually about 5 years later, making a career out of it. And I can go into the details if you want, but the short of it is what convinced me to work at HubSpot in sales specifically was that they had a completely different approach to sales, called inbound sales. And it was the sister to inbound marketing, so to speak. And it totally broke down all preconceived notions that I've had of sales and the way that sales worked. And they really focused. I mean, I experienced that firsthand as a customer, the way in which I was sold to, which is really not being sold to at all. And then I experienced that throughout the entire interview process as well, and learning how sales actually works and what the day-to-day life looks like for any member of the sales team. So it was so different that I said, okay, like, this just totally changes everything I thought about sales and how it worked. Sounds way better than I thought it was. It's more of like a consulting type of thing. And yeah, there's part of old world elements still to it. There's a lot of new world elements to it as well. But that's I guess those are the highlights of why I ultimately came to work at HubSpot. That's
awesome. Well, and so you already had a relationship in existence, and it was a good one, and you liked that.
Right.
So some of the things that we always tell our dealer owners and principals is, remove yourself from the situation. Like, remove yourself from the fact that you own this company and that you understand every nuance of it and that you love it. And why wouldn't anyone want to work there? It's a great place to be. So you might see that and sense that and feel that. But how do you get that out there, that you have an amazing culture from today's standards, today's tools and technology? So this is more about talking about the tools and technology that are available, that you can use and that you can share what you have out there with folks. So, for instance, when I worked at a dealership, we attracted really, really hot talent. She was awesome, and she had never sold before in our industry, but our VP of sales was a very good salesman. And so he sold her on the company. And she got in and she realized, I can't do anything with the CRM. They wouldn't let her do anything in there. She couldn't enter her own information. Everything was missing. She was like, I'm working with two hands tied behind my back. Can I buy my own Salesforce license? And to which they said no. But it's a valid point. So first impressions are everything. So the two first things as a sales rep that if I were looking for a job in sales or a job period, I'd be like, okay, what does a website look like? If I'm a customer and I go to that website, is it helpful? How much extra work as a sales rep do I have because I have to sell a little harder because my website is crap?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You go to HubSpot's website and holy moly, it's awesome.
It's interesting you mention that because I can't remember the exact context this came up in. I think it was when I was either a manager or a rep. And some CEO had asked me, can't remember the exact question actually, but the net of it, the output was basically that I said, I will never work for a company that does not use at least some form of a marketing automation tool and is not invested in inbound marketing. So if you're not doing that, and I'll tell you honestly, from my perspective, I will never work for a company that does not use HubSpot specifically.
Right.
I'm biased, but like I've seen the system, I know the system, I know the tools. So like I would say, look, like if your team can't give me access to or doesn't leverage like HubSpot marketing software, or doesn't use or I can't buy products like the Sales Pro product or the CRM, use things like that. Like it's just a complete non-starter for me. I don't really care what the comp package is.
Right.
So it actually matters because the technology that I am able to use is my entire day. It's the email that I'm using. It's the email clients I'm using. It's a CRM I'm using. It's where the leads are coming from, how consistently those leads flow in, so on and so forth. So like to me personally, and this is not the same for every rep by any means, but I'm 32. Like I'm not, the super young millennial, like just coming out of school, I guess, but I'm not too far from it either, I suppose. And I can tell you that technology is one of the again, for me, absolutely probably the number one or two thing on my list. And I wouldn't be surprised if many others felt that way as well.
Well, absolutely, because what are you supposed to do when you walk in? I mean, I reference Larry Levine all the time because he's one of our sister companies, Social Sales Academy, and he walked into what we call an OEM, office equipment manufacturer, and we have a lot of acronyms, and he walked into nothing. They didn't really do any inbound marketing. They didn't have leads coming in. They didn't give him an existing book of business. This man single-handedly built an over $1 million pipeline in a year using LinkedIn.
Wow.
LinkedIn. That's it. LinkedIn. That's all he had. You know what I mean? So he positioned himself electronically to fill the beginning stage of that buyer's journey with his own content. He's like, I've been selling. He's 52.
Yep.
He's 52. We had him on the show a few weeks ago. If you guys missed that episode, go back, man, listen to it. His story is amazing. Yeah. But, you have to have some kind of tools for your sales reps now because they're not all going to take the initiative that Larry did. So the website is huge. LinkedIn is huge. If the company doesn't have a decent LinkedIn web presence, think about what your prospects are doing. Think about what you do when you're trying to make a buying decision. Mm-hmm. You're looking them up online. Are these guys the real deal? Is there any negative press about them? Is there positive press about them? As a sales rep, I'm going to do the same thing. I want to work for a good company, a reputable company that sells good stuff. I'll make more money.
So really interesting point that you brought up there, just with like the focus on questions. I think this is something that's worth highlighting. I actually involuntarily, well, it ultimately was voluntary, but I like to think that, and I'll tell the story some other time, but like I involuntarily gave a talk yesterday to about 30 financial advisors on inbound marketing, like 101. This is like not quite the slide deck from 2006, but probably like 2012, 13, 14. Like, yeah. So there's things that have changed for sure, but like, it was actually really interesting to go back and see how true some of these core principles were. And one of the slides that really stood out to me was a screenshot, of course, of Google Trends. And it was looking at Google Trends for the search terms of how do I and how can I, and I think a couple other questions. And it basically showed the exponential growth of those search terms from 2005 to 2014. And it basically had one of these curves that went like this, like started here, went straight up to the right, which is interesting because that's indicative of the fact that the way people are searching for information has fundamentally changed, meaning people are asking questions. Google has taken note of that. And again, this is not a deep dive SEO show or talk today by any means. But the point is, the way people are searching for information, and there are over 5 billion searches happening every single day, every day. The way that they are searching for that information is through questions. So if you're not answering the question that they're asking, we had a great, Lindsay had a great idea, and I thought we had a great episode about this last week about the questions your prospects are asking. Same exact idea holds true for your prospective new sales team members that you're trying to attract to your business. They are definitely asking questions. They're doing tons and tons of research without you.
Yeah. And if they're not, then they're not the top sales reps, because the top sales reps have options.
Right.
Yeah. They're not stuck in a bad job. They can go anywhere they want.
Yep.
So
absolutely. And I often find too that, what I've noticed, I was a manager. Well, I still am a manager, I guess, but I've been a manager for about 3-ish years now on the sales team, and whenever I'm interviewing new candidates, I can always tell the quality of the candidate by the quality of the questions that they're asking, because you can tell that the best reps ask the kind of most cutting questions, and that they've done their research. They will ask questions that you just very clearly cannot find answers to online. They know exactly what they're looking for. So, again, that's something to keep in mind, that, the best reps, I guarantee they're going to be searching for tons of stuff. They're going to be prepping. They're going to be researching your business. The worst, quite frankly, doesn't really matter. But if you want to track that really high quality talent, because there is going to be this massive shift in, it's really, I think it's, my argument or counterpoint to the Forrester article is that, there's going to be, not that 1 million jobs are going to be lost, which I love the headline. Technically they are going to be lost. It's just that they're going to be displaced. They're going to be redistributed because the inside sales profession is still growing fairly quickly and outpacing outside sales. However, it is this massive disruption and shakeup of, I think, the 4.5 million specifically B2B sales jobs, I believe, in the US, maybe North America. I don't think globally, but either way, I'm kind of getting lost in the data, but you get the point.
No, that's good. It's how you use inbound marketing in your business that's going to attract top talent. Mm-hmm. If you have the inbound sales and inbound marketing methodology in play inside of your business, whether or not they know that's inbound marketing doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. They see quality stuff that they can use for their prospects. They see quality leads coming in that they can take and work in their A time. Mm-hmm. And by A time, I mean that's when the salesperson is actually out there doing what they do best, which is a solutions-based sale that's going to solve a problem for a customer. Okay, because there's more. I have more stats. Are you proud of me?
I am very proud.
CRM is a huge deal in our industry because there's only a few out there that are specific to the office technology industry. So, and I'm not going to name names. Some of them are great. Some of them are okay. And some of them are just flat out crap. I worked at a place where we used one of the ones was flat out crap. Oh. So one place for a lead source, just one. And you couldn't change it. So if they called on them 15 years ago, that's what got this. Okay. Anyway, so it's estimated on average 32% of a salesperson's time is spent searching for missing data and entering it into the CRM.
I love that stat. I know it well. It is.
I bet you do.
It is a heartbreaker.
It is a heartbreaker. And when I was at the BTA in Orlando, I'm like, where was I? I really need to get a map and just start pinning. You know what I mean? Put pins. But I was showing them how right from your email, if you're interacting with a prospect, and you have HubSpot, you actually have a little pop-up on the side, if you're in Gmail, Outlook, whatever, where you can click Add to HubSpot. And HubSpot goes in and scrapes all the data for them. Because that's not a valuable use of your sales rep's time. They shouldn't have to go, let me Google them, let me get the name of let me get the URL of the company, let me see if I can find an email address. HubSpot scrapes all of that for you.
But the other way to think of it is, I think it's a great point, Lindsay. Like, and I think if I'm a business owner, the way I'm thinking about it is, let's just say, I mean, I know this range is extremely wide across industries, but let's just, for argument's sake, nice, big, like round numbers. Let's say that a sales rep costs $100,000 a year. Okay. There are reps that probably cost less than that, and there are ones that cost, I know for a fact, 10 times more than that. Okay. But let's just call it 100,000 just for easy math. If 32% of that rep's time is spent doing data entry, you're paying $30,000 per year, $33,000, give it to $32,000. You get the point.
Right.
But $32,000, or the equivalent of just under $3,000 a month per rep for data entry. Do you think that's a good investment as a business owner? No, there's no way in the world that that's a good investment. That is insanity. You're just literally taking wads of money and flushing it straight down the toilet. There are tools. HubSpot's one of them. I'm biased. I'm always going to say, yes, HubSpot, love it, use it, helps you. It's not for every business. But there are plenty of other tools beyond HubSpot too. This problem does not have to be a problem. Reps should not have to be doing data entry in the era of inbound selling and the mass proliferation of sales technology.
Oh, Sig, that's a great point. That's a great point. I mean, and there's so much, and because I work in this industry, there is so much to do cleaning up these CRMs, these lists. It's like it's taking us months just to find, because you've got like 20% churn in folks moving away from the company and going somewhere else and never getting that information updated in your database. And you take that and you compound that by decades, and you've got a lot of work to do. Because, I mean, it's, what is it? 59% of their time is spent on non-sales activities, like internal meetings. And
that was the exact next thing I was going to talk about, is just that, as a sales rep, from a sales perspective, one of the first things I'm thinking about, and when I talk to the manager that I'm going to be working for, if I'm talking to the team members on that team, one of the first questions I'm going to ask is how much process, how much admin, how many meetings. In other words, what percent of my time am I actually allowed to sell? What percent of my time am I actually allowed to do my job? And how easy does the company doing things like attending meetings, cleaning up data, running reports, sending reports to management? It's like, look, if you're gonna bog me down with all these non-selling activities, guess what that means? That means I can't be successful as a sales rep, which is not good for you, and it's not good for me. Right? So that's, again, incredibly important that the easier you make it. We talk about this, in the company to customer context of how easy is it for a customer to buy from you? Okay, think of it this way: how easy is it for the sales rep to sell for you? How easy is it to do business as a sales rep at your company? If it's extremely hard, it's never going to be a win-win situation. It's always going to be a worst case outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. What tools are you giving your sales reps so that they're in A time?
Right.
So, and it was just kind of an idea that I had to talk about today. And I don't want to beat it to death, but I wanted to kind of bring it to light. So basically,
the importance has to be underscored. It's insanity. It can be changed. It's just going to take, it's going to take time, and us beating on the drum loudly. And we're not the only ones talking about this by any means.
No.
But, it's one of those things that's, businesses are going to have to wake up. It's going to take time, but it'll happen. Yeah,
because when you want your top sales rep that's producing $70,000 to $1 million, $70,000 to $100,000, a month, to be out there doing even more of that and less of the mundane data entry and general administration stuff. Yeah. I mean, that's how things like sequences ties in. Mm-hmm. And next week, we're going to have a guest that's going to come on and talk through sequences and sort of how that's going to work with marketing automation for leads as well. Because, I mean, that's another thing. Like, if you can set something up where your sales rep only has to send an email out once, and then the sequence takes care of the rest, and the system is responsive to the behavior of the person and how they're reacting to the email, how much time does that save? And then it pops up with a reminder, you better call this person because you started this sequence with them 5 days ago and it's time to follow up. And I mean, all of these things that have been so manual for so long.
Right.
It doesn't have to be anymore. And people are like, oh my God, it's so expensive to buy this automation. $30,000 per sales rep to enter data.
Exactly.
Add that up.
The thought just to multiply that through even a team of 5 or 10 reps is crazy.
And most of the folks we work with have like 20 to 30 some sales reps.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Add it up.
Yeah. It's
Add
nuts.
it up.
It's a huge suck. If you want to find another place to, improve margins or, find extra cash to reinvest in growing your business for that matter, if it's not about margins, that's a great place to start.
Yep. And be able to sit down and interview somebody who's an absolute rock star and tell them, these are the things that we have for our sales reps. We have all of this great content that can be shared to help with the prospects through their buying cycle. We have sequences tools that allow you to share that information, help them fill that beginning 70% of their buying journey with great content from us that's educating. And then by the time they get to you, they're ready to go.
Right. Yep.
Now you still have work to do. They're not just ready to sign, but yeah, I mean, think about that. God, you don't have to spend hours banging out calls on the phone all the time. Yep. I can do that still, yes, but I can supplement with other things as well. That are so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I know I'm preaching to the choir.
You are preaching to the choir. Sure, we don't have all the choir people on today, but
no, not all of them, but
let them to join.
So, but I thought that'd be a fun topic. If you guys have other thoughts or questions, we would always love to hear from you. Like, ask us anything. I mean, I always get great questions from some of the folks when I go to these speaking engagements, and I should start regurgitating those. I'm going to have one session that's all like, here are all the questions I get when I go speak at these events. And we'll just do one whole session on that. But yeah, next week we're going to have Aaron on. And it's going to be a great discussion about sales sequences, how to help sales reps get through that, and then also how that's going to react with some of the marketing things that are already in play and how these two things talk to each other. So it'll be...
I'm very excited. That's great.
That's going to be a really fun one. So, well, guys, thank you again for hanging out with us and spending time with us. We hope you got some value out of that. Go find some awesome salespeople. You can find Brian Sig, but not hire him, at Inbound Seller on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at LV Kelly. And then hop over to iTunes if you liked what you heard and give us a review. And folks, until next time, keep the conversation going.
Yeah, keep talking.
You've been listening to the Yin and Yang Show, a marketing and sales conversation with Lindsay Kelly and Brian Signorelli. Join us online at yinandyang.fm. That's www.yinandyang.fm.